Ladies and gentlemen, Major General Michael Walsh, Commander of the Mississippi Valley Division and President of the Mississippi River Commission. And the members of the Mississippi River Commission are also here. Mr. R.D. James, a local Missouri resident. Mr. Sam Angel. Colonel Reichling is here, and also Mr. Smith from Louisiana. And Colonel Reichling, the commander of the Memphis District. Sir, I'll turn it over to you.
I also notice Congresswoman Emerson is here as well. Thank you very much for being here, ma'am. The main issue is public safety remains the #1 issue for the Corps of Engineers. I've ordered the district commander to operate the project.
Wow, it's fast.
Pause for a second.
Wow, we saw that line of fire just as it was described and then heard a series of blasts strong enough that I could feel my inside shake, the vehicles around us shake. I'm sure it was a sound loud enough for you all to hear. That was the intentional breaching of the Birds Point levee.
The Mississippi River flows south from northern Minnesota to the Gulf of Mexico. It is the largest and longest river in North America. The mighty Mississippi is calm most of the year. But during the spring, when the snow melts in the north, or when excessive rain falls across the plains, the river can rise to alarming heights, building pressure upon its multiple levee systems and causing tremendous problems for all who live along its banks. In the early 1940s, a group of African-American sharecroppers migrated from Mississippi and Tennessee to southern Missouri's Boot Hill region, where they had been told that they could buy land to farm for themselves. For generations, poor African-Americans living in the South had known only a life of indentured farm work for wealthy white landowners, where entire families worked in the fields for very little pay and often lived in substandard shacks. Although there was land to buy in Missouri, the only land for sale to African-American farmers was the swampland, located squarely within the area known as the Birds Point-New Madrid floodway, adjacent to the Mississippi River. Nevertheless, with unwavering determination, these African-American farmers bought the swampland, cleared it, planted their crops, and built the town of Pinhook, where they raised their families and lived in peace for several generations. Because they had settled so near the levee, the residents of Pinhook had always lived with the uncertainty of rising waters. But they never expected the Army Corps of Engineers to breach the levee and destroy everything they had built and worked for. And yet, this is exactly what happened May 2nd, 2011. When the water pressure began to build on the river at Birds Point, the Army Corps used dynamite to blow 3 holes in the levee near Pinhook to relieve the pressure and save the town of Cairo, Illinois. Unfortunately, this action flooded more than 130,000 acres of farmland and completely destroyed the town of Pinhook. During a scheduled meeting, Colonel Walsh, a representative of the Corps, justified the plan to breach the levee by stating that it was because of concern for the people who lived near the river. The people of Pinhook were not invited to the meeting when the plan was discussed. They were not informed of the Corps' final decision to blow the levee. And when it became inevitable that they would have to evacuate their town, they received no assistance. Deborah Robinson Tarver, the mayor of Pinhook, was forced to organize the evacuation of the residents with the help of her brother, David, and others who owned trucks and tractors.
So do you have like photo albums of the village before the flood?
I did good to get me out.
Yeah.
I don't, if I do, I don't know it because we had to get what we could. Yeah. I had my mom, their house, my sister's house, my house, and then my mom's house. Well, my mom is older and she's more hands-on. She's got to have stuff. So we sacrificed and got her stuff as much as we could out of her. And then we just grabbed clothes and essentials. Now, I don't know, we did get some stuff, but I still don't know what we got and what we didn't get because we had to find storage. And then we just kind of threw it in there.
And so they didn't give you any help with this at all? They just came and said, this is what's it's going to be flooding, you have to get out.
And actually, we didn't find that out. We found that out through a friend at our job because we had went to work on the 27th and got up and went to work. And at 7:30, the lady that works behind me, she said that she saw it on the Facebook that it was to be in a mandatory evacuation. So I immediately started calling emergency management to see, what's going on. I got people down here that can't walk and in wheelchairs. What am I doing here? Well, just stand down. They just getting excited. Nothing's gonna happen. At 11:30, I got a call from my brother because I got another call from the lady at my work and said, it's there. You need to get out. You need to find out what's going on and get down there and take care of it. So I was on my way home, made it to Matthews. My brother from New York called and said, where are you? I said, well, they keep saying that it's a mandatory evacuation, but I don't think that's going to happen because ain't nobody told me nothing because I've been calling. And he said, I tell you what, you get down there, get your shit, and get out because I am hearing it here in New York City that you need to get out. It's a mandatory evacuation. Well, still, we didn't hear anything until it came on TV by 12:30.
And they didn't send out ambulances or trucks, anything to help you get out?
No.
Oh, my God.
Backed by landowners who farmed thousands of acres of land within the spillway, the state of Missouri tried to stop the Corps from flooding the Missouri side of the river. But Judge Stephen N. Limbaugh, a U.S. district judge in Cape Girardeau, ruled that the Corps had a sovereign right to blow the levee at Birds Point.
Everybody acknowledged that under the law, that the Corps of Engineers had the discretion to blow the levee if they saw fit. And so the real question was whether they were abusing their discretion in blowing the levee and whether their conduct was therefore arbitrary and capricious. And after I heard all the evidence, this could have been hours away that the flood was going over 60 feet at Carroll and that they were going to have to do this. So Sandy, who you met, and one of my law clerks and our court reporter, we stayed up till 2:30 in the morning and cranked out that opinion. After hearing all the evidence, I was firmly committed into the resolution of the case. First, that the Court of Engineers did enjoy sovereign immunity against a suit under Missouri statute. And second, I was firmly convinced that their actions were not arbitrary and capricious. I mean, they were just terrified themselves about the prospect of what was going to happen, but it was the least bad solution to a horrible, horrible problem.
The most important question we wanted to ask is, we obviously know that you knew that there were people in houses in the floodway. Did you know about Pinhook? Did you know? Had you?
There was a little bit. Yeah, there was a little bit of testimony about the whole area. Attached a, they had a couple landowners testify, and they talked about.
But the town itself was actually mentioned in the hearing?
I'm sure it was. Yeah.
Former residents of Pinhook talk often of their love for the town and how much they miss being able to live there.
No, this part of the country was good farm country where out at Pinhook and gardening. I love the garden. I'd have the kids out in the garden. They said, no, we don't ever want to see a garden no more.
I felt.
Yeah, chopping peas and beans and greens, the whole works. Love doing it. I loved it at the time because I was able, you know, younger and able. And then had all 8 of those kids and they all had a hoe. We always working. If Jim wasn't on the farm, he had a hoe. But he was slick. He put his hoe down and made like he had to do something.
This was your husband.
Yeah. Yeah, girl. But it was a lot of fun. And I've done a lot of cooking. I fed a lot of people, lots and lots. People just coming off the road, you know, like people selling things, salesmen. We'd be at the table eating, just grab a chair. And come on and eat. They said, no. He said, oh, man, grab a chair and sit down and eat. And they said, oh, thank you for that meal.
I'm
Probably the
sure.
best meal they had.
Yeah,
for days.
said, we haven't eaten in 2 weeks, not no good home-cooked meal. And we just had fun doing that. Loved it. To get more than what we had. We're just out to get what we had back. And for some, it's hard to understand because they ask, well, why were you down there? Well, it wasn't like I could live up here on my income, or, you know, I couldn't go out and buy a Cadillac knowing that I had a bicycle money. So it's where we could afford to live and what we knew. If we could have moved somewhere else, we would have. But we couldn't. So basically that's why we live there. Why would you live in? Why do people live in little bitty trailers in the woods? Because they don't want to pay electric bills. But they live there. But that's what they know and that's what they like. And that's why we were there. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I mean, if we could go back, we would go back. But who wants to have to run every time they think the levee gets a little high and they blow the water in? Nobody wants to keep doing that. And we've been doing it for years, never said a word, never complained, never went to the governor, never went to the to Emerson, never went to anybody. We just was quiet, did what we had to do. We would get ourselves out. We didn't ask for help. They didn't give us no help. And God is taking care of us through that. It's time to change. As they say, it's time for a big change. So yes, we can do it if they just let us and give us a little help. I think we can.
For nearly 3 years since the flooding of their homes, the residents of Pinhook have been renting rooms in nearby towns. Deborah, Twan, and their mother Aretha each had their own home in Pinhook. Aretha's home was the pride of Pinhook. But today, they all live cramped together in a small house in Sikeston, Missouri. The filmmakers, Todd and Elaine, continue to visit the Robinson family in Sikeston to encourage them in their efforts to rebuild Pinhook. As the mayor of the town, Deborah meets with the former residents of Pinhook on a regular basis to keep their spirits high. But as the years go by, this is becoming more difficult. For nearly 3 years, she has done everything required to receive assistance from FEMA. She has submitted all the necessary grants, some more than once. But so far, her efforts have been in vain. When Twan, Deborah's sister, had the opportunity to address government officials in Jefferson City, Missouri, she broke down in tears because it was so difficult to realize that the town she loved was truly gone.
And so I began to talk about Pinhook and what happened. I said, let me just tell you, this is what happened to us. And so I began to talk about it, and I said, and then on May 2nd, they blew the levee. And Deborah sitting beside me, she said, are you okay? I was like, shut up, Deborah. Shut up. It was so funny, and I love that, but it was devastating. And I think just because we grew up there. I mean, and we knew everybody. At one point in time, all of us were related by blood or marriage. And that was a lot, at one point in time, it was a lot of us. It was a lot of kids. We filled up a bus. And it was overcrowded. The bus was overcrowded. And they never gave us in another bus to our area. And we would have I think that at the time the number was 70 or 65, and we always had 74. So we always had over the amount of people. And we would cram in seats. He put 4 people to a seat, everything to get us to school.
Can I ask you a question? And it might be a sensitive one. So.
Okay.
So you've always kept this within the town. Like the campaign, you being in charge of it, or being out front and everything. Did you ever think about I don't know, going and getting a lawyer or somebody like that, or somebody even outside?
The lawyer that I have is the best lawyer you can get, and you never have to pay him.
I wasn't hearing right.
At one time, I thought, you go get the lawyer. What kind of money can you pay him? He ain't taking chickens, and he sure ain't taking no eggs. So you can't, you don't have the money to pay him.
And you basically said, here's
I got
the
a kid
resources
sick.
we
I need
got.
a lawyer, but
Right.
I can't do nothing,
Right. But here's the resources we have is us.
This is it.
Yeah.
And prayer's gonna have to work. Because I
But
don't
they
have it.
also told you that until the decision was made, that you shouldn't contact a lawyer, right? As long as it was still they were still deciding.
Right. You can't do nothing when they got you tied up like that. You have to wait. Any little thing that you do could jeopardize anything that you had going.
So they got you in limbo.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I don't like limbo.
Mm-hmm. You want a yes or no?
But the Bible says,
if
they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength.
That's true.
They shall mount up on wings like eagles. They shall be weary and not faint. They shall run must rest.
If they did say, if they said no,
pretty good.
If they said no, would you just turn like what lady said? Then I'm gonna do it myself, or would you think about? No, we're gonna sue you
I'm
now.
I'm gonna still be out there.
For as long as anyone can remember, Pinhook has always celebrated Pinhook Day, a traditional homecoming for everyone who has ever lived there.
Father in heaven, we come to you today. We bow our heads and open our heart. We thank you, Lord, for being able together once again in our home. We ask that you be with us for the rest of the day. We thank you for our friends and family who feel so much for us that they took time to spend the day with us. But we just thank you for being able to join together as one.
Even now, when there is no town left, former Pinhook residents maintain their community by continuing the tradition of gathering in May for prayer, great food, and music. Although the media has characterized Pinhook as a very small town comprised of mostly middle-aged and elderly black women, the town has always been home to a large community of men, women, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. For the 2013 Pinhook Day celebration, Deborah made a Pinhook memorial quilt that was auctioned off as a fundraiser.
Why did the quilt make it? Just because it's just, I can't go there and see it no more. I can see what's happening. That's all I'm even telling you. Is the pictures. And most of the houses are destroyed. It's just hard. Like I said, I stay away from it as long as I can. Then I have to come to Pinhook. Try to avoid it because it's just hard to talk about, especially since, like I said, it's sending money to Syria and everywhere else. And God bless those people that go to the home and need it. My goodness. Yeah, and I just feel like kind of like we were treated like the government was a pimp and just said, hey, take this, get back out there and do your thing, So take what you got and just keep it moving. That's why I just...
Victims of other disasters in Missouri and elsewhere have received generous funding and compensation from the government to rebuild destroyed homes and communities. But the town of Pinhook continues to wait for help. The residents of Pinhook rarely suggest that the color of their skin is the reason they continue to be ignored. Yet there are some hard questions about this situation that need to be asked. Why were African Americans allowed to buy only the swamp land, squarely in the spillway nearest the levee in the early 1940s? Why were the Pinhook residents not invited to participate in the discussions to breach the levee at Birds Point in 2011? It's just wrong. Why wasn't the destruction of the town of Pinhook included as an important part of the lawsuit to stop the flooding in Missouri? Why weren't the residents of Pinhook personally warned by the Army Corps of the mandatory evacuation? And why weren't they assisted in getting everyone out of their homes and to safety? Why hasn't Pinhook received compensation or aid of any kind from FEMA or any of the other governmental disaster management programs after 2.5 years of grant submissions and meetings with officials? Why have some citizens received government aid and others are being denied their rights to assistance? How long do the residents have to wait for help?